spooky readers and eternal readers, my spooky fam, I missed you. Today we're going to go over my January reading wrap up. So get comfy, get you a nice drink, and let's go over the reads. Okay, so for in January, I said that there were certain reads that I still needed to finish from December, and then other reads I wanted to read. So the Two Towers came into the month needing to finish it, didn't finish it. Crane Character Arcs came into the month needing to finish it, didn't finish it. Now that those are out of the way, I did finish The New Neighbors by Simon Lellick. This is a thriller about a couple who move into a new home and then bodies start dropping, and they alternate chapters telling their story, one to convince the other that they didn't do it, or maybe not, and two, to use the story that they're writing as their official statement to the police, which I think is a brilliant way to structure and write the story for the book. It's brilliant. Um, check your triggers if you worry about certain things that will traumatize you. I didn't check the triggers because triggers don't bother me. I am very weird in the fact that things that trigger other people's trauma and would, if I was normal, maybe trigger my own trauma as well. Uh, I'm very weird in the fact that if I read things that involve parts of my trauma, it actually is part of my healing process. It helps me to heal, where other people who are normal, it would trigger them. So check your triggers. I didn't. So things in the book I wasn't expecting. But to me, that's fine. This has a major subplot of childhood abuse from parents. So if that at all triggers you, be forewarned before you read this book. That being said, it was represented very beautifully. And something else you need to know before you read this book is children who go through abuse from parents try to find an out. And sometimes their only option that they think is an option is the final out. I know that personally. When I was a teen, I grew up in a very abusive home, and when I was a teen, I tried choosing that out several times. The only thing that stayed my hand was I have a little sister, and if I left, there would be no one to protect her. So I resonated with these characters extremely well, and I'm going to try not to cry. Um, just know before you read this book, those things are in this book, and some of them are right on the page. Not necessarily the abuse part, but the attempting the out is. Um, and it's scary. Because it involves a kid. That being said, this book was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. Uh, it did have a little bit of the eerie nature behind it. Um, Almost like you feel like, okay, is this house haunted type of thing? Um, but it's not a paranormal book. It's a thriller. So just remember that when you go into it. It does have a very eerie nature in some points, but the truth is more terrifying. Um, because ghosts will be ghosts, but humans are monsters. Most of everyone I know that the true monsters are humans. Um, so yeah, this is beautiful, and I got connected with the characters very quickly. And after like the first quarter of the book, everything started picking up, and I started being more and more invested. And at that point, I couldn't go to bed until I knew how it ended. So I stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning reading this book. Um, no, actually, I think this is the one I stayed up until 8 a.m. And then I was like, okay, it's over. I can sleep now. um, but it does pick up after like the first quarter and everything happens. And it's beautiful, and I loved the way everything came together. There was times I wanted to punch some of the characters and just completely throw down and like take them out myself. Um, and then there, and then Simon Lillick hit me with that last line, and I broke and just sobbed as I was putting the book away to go to sleep. Yeah, it was easy for me to fall asleep after staying up for 12 hours reading. Thanks for that. But yeah, for real, Simon Lillick, thank you. um, I I highly recommend this book. Um, yeah, I just want to check. I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed this book. Um, and it was off of my physical TBR. So that's one book read this month from my physical TBR, which is a goal. Another book was Brian Lumley's Necroscope. This is the first in the series. This is horror and off the physical TBR. I also read this for the reading vlog this month. Now, I read this book for the first time when I was 15. And for the reading vlog, I chose to read this for the first time in 20 years. And because I read it when I was 15. And the only thing I can remember from it is this picture that I said necro something, and it had to do with necromancers or a necromancer, and that it was trippy. It's the only thing I can remember. It was very vague in my mind, but I remembered this book for 20 years. And I'm so grateful I did. And I'm so grateful that I decided to read it again because, oh my damn. Uh, Go check out my reading vlog for uh, triggers, everything else, because this came out in 91. So I don't think that they actually published triggers back then. At least I couldn't find any. Um, but there's like gore, and there's dismemberment type of stuff. There's also non-consensual stuff, not between any of the main characters, but uh, it was very. And I can't say more without spoiling shit. But there's vamps. There is a necromancer. There's somebody that can talk to the dead. There is telepathy. There's like a whole ESB uh, group. many of them actually that have different ESB skills, like the evil eye and stuff. That one was trippy. Um, I have had an obsession with vampires since I was in elementary school. Most of the time, when people hear me say that, they think, "Oh, Twilight." How old do you think I am? No, Twilight came out when I was in high school, and I didn't even see it until I was an adult. Um, Twilight may have even came out after I was an adult. I can't remember. I don't prefer my vampires to be pretty and sparkly, thank you. I prefer my vampires to scare the hell out of you and to be grotesque and horrifying. Um, my first obsession was Anne Rice's interview with a vampire. When I was in elementary school, I had the book, I had the original movie, and I had the audiobook on cassette tape in my little like Walkman. Um, obsessed. Um, Lestats, Queen of the Dams, yes. Even the girl he turns and Queen of the Damned, all three of them just yes. So many signs I was by like forever ago that I just whew. Anyways, that's besides the point. Um Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, there's so many vampires that I love. And uh I mentioned in the reading vlog that one of my favorite series I've read is by some indie author friends of mine, Becca C. Smith and Hinda Accord. I have the series linked in that reading vlog in the comments because I forgot to link it in the description. Um, but they have visceral, horrific vampires in that series. And some of the most unique representation of vamps and story that I've ever seen. And I read and watch just about every vampire thing I can come across. Um, except the few on Netflix I just haven't got to because I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I'm too busy. Um, anyways, this is 5 out of 5 stars. If you like the grotesque vampires, check it out. There's also zombies in here at one point. Just if that's another keyword for you, it is for me. 5 out of 5 stars. This is my favorite read of January. Necroscope by Brian Lumley. My favorite read of January. And y'all know the Middle Earth series is my favorite read of all time. This is tied for favorite. This is tied for my favorite read of all time. I am going to be reading the rest of the series. I hope to get the next book of the series every like 2 to 3 months. I took copious amounts of notes because there was so much going on and so many characters that I didn't want to lose track. And that way, when I get the next book, I can just read my notes instead of rereading the book. Because it did take a long time for me to get through it because the chapters are like 12 to 20 pages long and it's dense. That's another thing I need to mention. Brian Lumley's writing style is very dense, like Tolkien and King. So if you don't like Tolkien or King's work because of their writing style is so dense and flowery and drawn on, his writing's not for you. But if you do, like I do, I grew up reading their writing and absolutely fucking love it. This is for you. It is very dense. It will take you a while to get through. Well, at least it took me a while, and I'm busy with work and stuff. But it's so worth it. So worth it. Favorite read of January. One of my top favorite reads of all time. I cannot wait to read the next book in this series. I have them all on my Amazon wish list now. I'm just hoping that I can get them all in the same edition so they're all the same size because I was having problems on Amazon trying to find the same sizes. Um, 'Cause I hate when the series isn't the same size, you know? So I read that. That's another off the physical TBR that I read. So I also read Smiley by Anna Lynn Hammer. Sorry. She's an indie author. I read this as an arc. This is dark fantasy, but it's also sort of romance. But I don't think she labeled it as dark fantasy romance. I think it's just called dark fantasy. Um, this was another on my list to read for January. Smiley is superheroes and villains city with like competitions on killing one another, crossed with Arcane from Netflix. If you're into Arcane, like I am obsessed with it, um, this is giving Jinx. And oh my fucking damn yes. Just yes. This book, 5 out of 5 stars. I cannot preach it enough. Incredible. I am reading more from Hammer in the future, and I cannot wait to get Smiley on my physical shelf because fucking yes. Also, one of the male main characters, the love interest, he can levitate people, and now that's on my list. Also, there is talk on Book Talk about some certain dark romance books that use weapons during the Smexy time. Um, they do in this book too. So if you're into that, check out Smiley. I will pop up a picture here. I highly recommend it. If you're into Arcane at all, read it. Fuck yes. All my damn fuck yes. Uh, that's all I'm going to say about that. Uh, she is definitely on my list of authors I want to read more from. Uh, Also, my audiobook pick for the month was No Rings Attached by Rachel Lacey. I'll pop up a picture here. It's sapphic. If you don't know what sapphic is, I had to look it up too, is lesbian. I usually just say LGBTQ plus because if any of that is involved, it's a yes for me. But it's sapphic, so it's lesbian. It's also fake dating. It's actually blind dating as well because a mutual friend hooks them up. Fake dating to sister's wedding where the ex is there and the family is still pushing the ex because her uh, being attracted to women is just a phase. Yeah, fuck all that. Anyways, it is slow burn. It is fucking yes. Um, I mean, there was times I was like, if y'all don't do it by the end of this book, I am going to be so mad. But they do. It's amazing. It's really, really good. I can't remember. Like I keep thinking of the other woman's name, but I don't think it's right. But I know Grace. I wrote down Grace in my notes. Um, Grace is going through a lot of stuff emotionally, and it all comes to light during it all, and which just draws them closer together, even though they're trying not to. It's incredible. 5 out of 5 stars. And then Rachel Lacey, I was already invested, already freaking loved it, and then almost the entire last hour of listening, I was weeping because there is a very uh, blunt thing that happens, and of course there cannot be any warning to this. There can't be for it to work. But damn, really, you had to do that to me because I was invested. I loved the characters. I was in love with their love, and then that happened, and it broke me. And I was weeping for almost the entire last hour of the book until like the last like 10 minutes, and I was fine and everything. I was just happy. But 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend. Um, so yeah, that was my audiobook read for the month. I also read Adventures of Alex Granger by Stephanie K. Clemens. This is a sci-fi fantasy from an indie author. If you watched episode 2 of the Indie and Diverse Author Spotlight series, episode 2 went up last week. Yeah, last week. I showcased Stephanie K. Clemens. She writes cozy fantasy. She writes historical women romance. Mystery. And uh, she also wrote Adventures of Alex Granger, which I found out about when I was doing the research. Also, her Kickstarter for Stripped Away will be starting this week. I think it starts on the 2nd. So go check it out. All of the links are in that episode description. Go check it out. But this is one of her books that I found during my research for all of her links and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I'm interested. This is, like I said, sci-fi fantasy about Alex Granger, who has just passed his like detective academy to become a detective in like the time traveling agency, and they have to like police everyone so nobody shows up in the wrong time era with like a phone and like causes a ripple effect or something like the butterfly effect, among other policing stuff. It really brings up the question of what would you do? Uh, like a time traveling, you can cause a ripple effect, the butterfly effect, and change history. Or does it? Or is that just what the authorities tell you so you don't go outside of the rules? It's very much what would you do in this scenario type of thing. And I love discussions on time travel and the possibilities and the problems involved in it and everything. So I really enjoyed this. It was very thought provoking. And it was actually pretty comedic too, because he gets this case where he has to pretty much chase someone through time, and he's trying to fix all of the issues that pop up because of this and because of this person. And he has to make a choice, and he is very frustrated throughout most of the story because he just got his detective badge. He just went through the academy, and he's like, I'm by the book. I have to do things by the book. My boss is going to be up my ass. Why can't you listen? Why do you keep doing this? You're going to get me in trouble. He's just very frustrated, and it's hilarious. And at times, it makes me mad because he's like flipping out, and I'm like, it's not that serious. Like maybe it is, but maybe it's not. It's not that serious, dude. Uh, so it is pretty comedic too, but also thought provoking, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. 3 out of 5 stars. Um, Let me see. There's any other book I have read this month. No. Okay. So I read uh 5 books this month, one of which was finishing reading The New Neighbors, but I read like 3/4 of it in January, so I'm counting it as a January read. Um, so I read 5 books this month. I am current. also reading The Animal by Chad Nicholas. It's a horror. Got it on ebook. Got werewolves. I read the short story. And then come to find out at the end, he's like, "Oh, by the way, this is chapter 1 of the book. If you're interested, click the link to read the rest of the book." So I'm like, really? I thought this was a short story. But it is a great selling technique. And Goodreads and Amazon and everything is counting that as a separate book, but I don't feel right counting it as a separate book, but they're counting it as a separate book, so I guess technically it's 6 books I read this month, or 6 stories I read this month. But I did go ahead and get the book, and I'm currently reading it. I am also currently listening to In the Event of Love audiobook, since I finished the one I planned to read this month. I started another one. It is also sapphic, LGBTQ+. It is very much city present, small town past, second chance romance. Loving it so far. I'm like 2 hours left of it to read. I wanted to finish it before I filmed this, and I just couldn't get to it. I need to finish the 2 towers. I need to finish the green character arcs. I may not finish this anytime soon, and that's fine. I'm going to finish the animal. I'll pop up a picture too. I am also currently reading In the Shadow of the Fall. I did not write down the author. I will pop up a picture though. It is an arc from NetGalley, so I'm currently reading it. It is YA fantasy. I'm also currently reading The Crystal Arrow. It is YA fantasy. It's book 3 in the series by Faraset Franco. I'll pop up the cover. I may have completely got the first name wrong. If so, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She's an indie author I follow on Book Talk, and I applied for her arc. So I'm reading The Crystal Arrow, and thoroughly enjoying it. It's very much mythological creatures and the main characters, the goddess of the sun, etc. Freaking love it. I'm about a third of the way through it. So yeah, so I am currently reading In the Event of Love, The 2 Towers, The Animal, In the Shadow of the Fall, The Crystal Arrow, and Crane character arcs. I'm currently reading 6 books. So yeah, I need to finish reading those 6 books. I would like to finish them before this weekend so that I can talk about them when I film the February TBR, but we will see. However, before I close my notes and stuff, hold up. Statistics. So I did read 2 books off of my physical TBR. I read 2 indie books, 1 LGBTQ plus book. I am currently listening to another. 2 physical, 2 ebook, 1 audiobook. Currently listening to another. 1 arc. Currently reading 2 more. 1 romance. Currently reading another. 2 fantasies. 1 horror. 1 thriller. And 1 sci-fi, because Adventures with Alex Granger is sci-fi fantasy. And my goal was to read 4 books a month, one of which is an audiobook. I read 5, technically, I guess 6, because the animal short story, first chapter short story, whatever the hell you want to call it. So, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm meeting all my goals. I'm doing good. Yeah. I'm done. That's it. Um, that's my January reading wrap up. I know it's all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I stayed up until 2 o'clock last night editing. So I am going to get off here and I am going to edit this video and upload it so you can have it tomorrow. All right. So thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and ringing that bell down there so you'll be notified the next time I post another video. I put another video up at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. Um, Also, I have decided that whenever I am reading an arc, I am also going to do a separate video for that review. So I am going to put up a separate video for Smiley, that arc, and then whenever I finish In the Shadow of the Fall and whenever I finish The Crystal Arrow, I will do separate videos for those as well. And I'll just put those up on Sunday as well. They're probably not going to be up at 1 p.m., but I'm going to just put those up on Sundays as well whenever I finish an arc. That way the arcs can get their own video as well. So yeah, if there's any type of video that you would like me to do, let me know. I'm just here to have fun and talk about books and be part of the community. So yeah, I will see you next time. Thank you so much, Eternal Readers, and stay spooky.